started getting these itchy spots on my body.
You know, how long have you had this, and you know, kind of where you're at?
Yeah, I actually feel like, you know, having read some of the testimonials, I feel like somehow I got off easy. Because there's so many people that have suffered with stuff like this for their whole life. They've been in misery. I'd never had any issues before, and then back in November of 2023, whether it was stress-induced or whatever, I started getting these itchy spots on my body. Yeah, we were taking care of my mom. My mom had just fallen, and so we were over trying to take care of my mom, and then another thing happened with my wife, and then so the stress level started rising, and these itches started showing up. So I went to my primary doctor, and he's like, yeah, looks like you get a rash. Let me give you a prescription for something. He gave me like an 8-day supply of something. I'd been trying Benadryl, anything, just to throw at it to try and knock it down. It worked.
Did he give you a cream? Did he give you a steroid?
No, he gave me an internal. He gave me an oral medication, which I am... Look, I'm not completely averse to, but I'm not big on synthetics. You know there's always a side effect. You don't know exactly what it's going to be, but you start monkeying with your body chemistry and all kinds of things, you know? So I'm always looking for natural ways to heal this. Anyway, so it got complicated because it turns out there were some open sores that began on my legs, all down my legs, on my back, and so I was putting Neosporin on it to try and keep infection away. I guess I got a secondary infection. I got allergic to Neosporin.
Oh, wow.
This went on and on. I finally got into a dermatologist, and he took me off Neosporin, gave me another prescription, a longer dose, which knocked some of it down again. But then it was just a case of trying oils and lotions because some of the big spots weren't as... The secondary infection went away, but I still had these huge welts on my legs, all down my calves, on my arms, down my back, in my scalp. And my hands, they just looked leprous. It was embarrassing to go out. I keep them on my pockets all the time because the skin was just literally flaking off all the time. And my grandkids were like, what's up with your hands? I'd walk around with gloves or Band-Aids on. And I was just starting to think, you know what? I may just have to reconcile myself that this is the way of life. I did a couple of juice cleanses, tried really restrictive diet stuff, trying to see, is it gluten, is it what, where did this come from? Nothing really helped. And so then I'm scrolling Facebook one morning and I see you guys' ad and I'm like, you know what? I've tried everything. Everybody tells me everything's going on in the gut. Why not give it a shot? What have I got to lose? I've tried so many different things now. And so I bought the 90-day supply, knowing that, it may take 90 days. That's fine. I got no problem. It was 40 days.
Nice.
It was stunning.
Nice. You know, this is the fun part of the job, I'm going to tell you. I mean, this is like where you go, wow, oh, this really helps, and this is so awesome. I mean, it's fantastic when we get to talk to people like you, and, you know, I'm excited to hear that this helped, you know. So you heard about us on Facebook via an ad. You were kind of just scrolling along, and that's so interesting. And did you do any research? I mean, did you look at,
you know, you try and do a little dive. The fact that, see, I take a lot of supplements. I take a lot of herbal supplements, so I'm very comfortable doing that kind of stuff. I tend to try and look for ingredients. I tend to try and look for, you know, you guys is, the testimonial side for y'all is pretty strong. That's always something I look for. You know, have customers use this, you know, because everybody's got a miracle cure, you know, and then people will take a product like yours and try and come up with a faux version of it with the same type of faux marketing. I mean, that's the way the internet works, right? And then they'll say, no, this worked for me. So I figured I had nothing to lose with a 90-day shot. And so I've been using this now since, I think, September or August.
Wow.
I think it is, yeah. August or September is when I started using this. And, I mean, my wife and I were just looking. My before picture, my hands were just this leprosy, skin falling off. My hands are fine.
Yeah.
The welts on my legs are nothing but there's a discoloration where the scar was. That's gone. I've got nothing on my scalp. Occasionally I'll have a little tiny one spot on my back that may show up, but it's super inconsistent. But the chronic nature of it and the really debilitating side of it is completely gone. So I'm just on I'm on a month-to-month subscription now with you guys because I'm like, I don't want to stop this.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that because it is transient. That's one thing about bacteria. You put it in your body and then it's out, and it's a transient thing. But, when we can create that symbiotic environment, that's where everything kind of goes, swimmingly. So were you skeptical? I mean, were you at all? I'm just curious.
No,
you sound like
I was way beyond. I can be very skeptical. Everybody and their brother has a mushroom complex or something like that, and I've tried lots of different things. And sometimes you notice a difference and sometimes you don't. But for instance, in the midst of all this, there was a lot of stuff going on in the family that I think was driving some of it, but this was the one thing. I mean, I had to keep drilling back. Could there be anything else that's affecting this, that's making this go away? And there was nothing more obvious and consistent than this product. So that was the stunning part. But for instance, so you take St. John's wort is, I like herbal teas. Classic example. St. John's wort and a couple others are great for if you're dealing with mild depression. There's a marked difference. It's not a high. You're not stoned. You're not loopy. You're not caffeinated. It just takes an edge off. I truly believe that plants, I think there's a reason for it. It's like dandelions in your yard, right? One of the healthiest things in the world, and we just get rid of them. We fertilize them to death. So I'm a believer in that. And I'm fascinated. I'm curious how you all figure this out, well, what about this combination? And maybe this will work. And I mean, that one little pill a day, that blows my mind.
It is amazing. By the way, it was 10 years of research, and it wasn't Eric and it wasn't me. These are guys out in a university in Valencia, Spain, that had did all kinds of research. Yeah. And, Eric had suffered from the same thing basically almost all his life. I've had chronic skin conditions too. So I was like, dude, yeah, I'm listening. What do you have here? And we kind of went back and forth, but definitely we were laymen. And then we saw the benefits of this study that they had put out in the Journal of American Medicine. And, when we saw it, we're like, this is incredible. Like, why is this not a product? How do we get this thing out there? And, Eric obviously wants to try it for his own benefit. And lo and behold, what happens? It works. And he's like, dude, I cannot believe this works. Same exact symptom, I've got these symptoms. I take a pill. They go away. What? No, this shouldn't be this easy. And it was, and that was the thing. And that's where I said, okay, we need to make sure we can sell this. And one of the biggest challenges I'll tell you right now that we have is, it's just getting people over the hump of believing, as you said, how could, how skeptical are people? I'm skeptical. Right. I'm not a guy that just jumps in and buys a pill to solve a problem. I'm a guy that sits there and says, okay, I'm going to work hard to solve the problem. I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to, if it's a health thing, I'm going to hit the gym, or I'm going to, whatever it is, right? I'm going to do those things over some period of time. But, I never was a believer that a pill could solve a problem. And I think that's the fascinating thing about this is that there are challenges that we have where, dysbiosis happens, and how do we, reverse that and get back into that symbiotic state? And I think you're, case in point, I mean, you look like you're in great shape by the looks of you. So I imagine, you've done a lot of things in your life to stay healthy, and to hear that this hit you. Yeah, right?
The older you get, the harder. The harder the challenge, man.
I second that, man. 51, okay? So it's yeah, I hear you. I'm on board with you. But that's the thing, how do we maintain health over time? And how do we do it without putting a drug in our bodies?
Yes.
I am 100% pro with you. I don't want drugs. I don't want something synthetic in my body. I want something natural that can provide benefit, and that's the key piece here.
Yeah, I took the bottle with me to my my acupuncturist because she's always looking for stuff too. She's a very Chinese medicine focused person, so she's always looking for stuff. But I think the real shock was when I took it to my primary doc and to the dermatologist, because those guys, they're trying to heal people the best they can, but they're trained and limited to a pharmaceutical method. That's 9 times out of 10, that's the direction they're going to go, is in that direction. And I brought the thing and I said, okay, guys, I'm not paid by these guys, but I got to tell you, maybe it'll put the dermatologist guy out of business for some of his stuff. I don't know, but it doesn't cure cancer. I'm not going to claim that it cures cancer, and he deals with a lot of that. But I said, no, you need to take a picture of this. He has all my before and after pictures, and him and his assistant were like, what the heck? What the heck? Because they don't see that kind of result.
It really is
They
incredible.
do not see that kind of result very often, right? And without constant maintenance, either some kind of a topical or some kind of prescription, they just don't see that. So I said, no, you guys take it or leave it. But this thing is the real thing. I tried it. This might be an answer for somebody's life. All my friends, anybody that I know that's especially I have a group of guys I get together with every Friday, and they're like, dude, your hands, they look like normal hands. Awesome. What on earth? I'm like, I feel like one of those Facebook commercials, like, it's this.
We should have had you hold the bottle when we did this, right?
Right.
It's really fascinating to see how the medical community has really embraced, an alternative medicine. We were at what was it called? The Integrative Dermatology Symposium over the summer, and I know that's a bunch of words.
No, that's cool, actually.
But there were hundreds of doctors there. And these people are they're out looking for this stuff. And we were sitting next to a pretty good sized pharma booth. I won't mention names. And, when you have a line of people sitting at your booth waiting to talk to you, and they have an amazing display. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. They had videos, they had all kinds of stuff.
I know what it's like next to trade show competition. I know what that's like. So.
Nobody's there at their booth, and I'm like, wow, what is happening?
That's fantastic.
There's so many positives of that. So awesome. Very excited for you. Loved what we heard. And, if you have any questions, I know you have Eric's email, feel free to email me. We're happy to help. And, we'll just kind of go from there. But, this has been great. We appreciate it. And do you have anything else you want to add or you want to tell us or anything?
No, it's funny you brought up my chiropractor. I see him next week. I haven't seen him in quite a while, especially because of this condition. I had stopped doing some of that stuff for a while. It's like, I'm not going that masseuse. I went back and saw a masseuse for the first time because I'm like, I'm not going into that environment. That's ridiculous. But
right.
So anyway, I'm going to see him next week, and I am taking my little bottle with me because he is all on board with looking for natural healing stuff. So super excited that you guys are having that opportunity.
Anyway, I won't hold you up. Thank you, Bill. We definitely appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's most things I would walk past, but this has been such a life-giving opportunity. Change in my life. There's whole parts of my life that I've gotten back because of this. It's stunning.
That's amazing.
I was excited to be able to share this with you guys.